Yeah, 1 second. I think we are live. Yes, we are live. You guys can start. Yeah.
Yeah, so hi everyone who ever joined. We'll start with a quick introduction of us four first, and we'll further move on towards our interview experiences later on. So I'm Nitin. I was GEM when I was preparing for CAT, and I was a computer science engineer with around 12 months of work experience at that point of time when I applied for FMS. And to talk about my profile overall, it was a 998 profile, and I scored a CAT's overall percentile of 99.91 in CAT 2020. So further on, my all colleagues from FMS will also be introducing themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Parth, and my profile is that I'm non-engineer, and I have work ex of around 8 months. So I have had my bachelor's and master's in statistics, and now I worked for about 8 months at a fintech company, and now I'm here for my MBA at FMS.
Hi everyone, I'm Sugandha Ruchir. So I'm an engineer. I have worked for 33 months prior to joining FMS for my MBA. I scored 99.29 in my CAT exam, and so yeah, that's pretty much it. Vaishnavi, you want to take it?
So, hi everyone, my name is Vaishnavi Agarwal, and I am an engineering graduate specialized in biomedical engineering. And I've scored a 99.22 in my CAT, and my overall profile is 989. So, yeah, that is something about me. And now I think we'll move on to my interview experiences, and then I feel like you guys could also take over one by one. So, like being from a very diverse background, like being biomedical engineering, so my overall interview at FMS were more or less about this particular field only. They wanted to know more about this, and yeah, the why MBA question was definitely into picture because so I would also suggest that if people are from diverse background, they should prepare well beforehand about this answer because this is something which surely might be asked to you and. So yeah, more about my experience. So before giving my experience, I learned that it is about just 8 to 10 minutes of any FMS interview is about. So I prepared accordingly, and more it revolved around my profile only. So yeah, next Sugandha, maybe you could take over.
Yeah. So as Vaishnavi said, definitely YMBA is a question we were all asked during our interviews. So further, my interview I feel was a bit conversational. There were no curveballs as such, except for my extempore maybe, because they asked me to talk about my one female entrepreneur that I looked up to, and there was nothing in my CV or nothing in my SOP that talked about entrepreneurship or having a startup idea. So I'm not sure why they asked me that. So that was something that they asked me to talk about. And so I feel you should be prepared to talk about anything and everything because there is no set syllabus as such. So you could be asked anything. So be thorough with your SOP, obviously, because the first section of an interview is discussion on SOP, which has been continuing for the last 2 years now, I think. So that is one. Apart from that, I was asked about what I was reading currently, about my work experience, how my work experience would help me become a proper management professional, how would it help me, what I bring to the table that sets me apart from my peers and colleagues. So these are a few HR questions that you should be well versed with. Apart from that, being thorough with your profile is a must. So they could ask you questions from your subjects that you studied during graduation as well. So that could also happen. Apart from that, it could also happen that you mention a hobby and then they pick up on that and they might cross question you on your hobby. So also be well prepared with your hobbies. Suppose you say that you're reading a book, so be prepared to answer the last 5 books that you read if you mention reading as your hobby, especially then again if you mention gardening as such, then they might ask you about gardening tools. If you mention cycling, they might ask you about the types of cycles that are present in the market and which one is your favorite, which bicycle do you own. So these are various diverse questions that they could ask you. Then again, if you have done some certifications or have workex, so what do you do on a daily basis on in your work is a question that might come your way. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it about my interview experience. So my interview largely revolved around my work ex and the HR questions that I mentioned before. So I think Parth or Nitin can take it from here.
So my interview experience as well was largely centered around my profile and my SOP. As Sugandha mentioned, that there's a discussion on SOP. So SOP was actually the starting point of the discussion, and why MBA was again a very big part, and how I actually supported my answers with my, and connected that with my SOP was something that I really focused on. Your why MBA should be very clear. And so I also have a gap in my in my profile because of UPSC preparation, so that also was a point of discussion. And also my extempore topic was jack of all trades and master of none, which was somewhat inspired from this the UPSC angle of my profile. And other than that, I had in my SOP also mentioned around interest that I had within MBA. So let's say finance, marketing, or something like that. And that also became a point of discussion as to why that area of interest within MBA. So that was largely my interview. Again, very conversational. And yeah. So Nitin, maybe you can continue.
Yes, sure. So my interview is also on pretty much the same lines. It was started with an introduction about me, about the basic. Tell me about yourself question, and further on it went to the nitty gritties of the SOP that I wrote. So it picked up the one thing I would suggest is to be thorough with every word you write in your SOP. So that's what happened to me as well. So they picked up a few words from my SOP, then combined it to give me my extempore topic. And what you get is around 15 seconds to think about it, structure your thoughts, and then you have to present them to the panels. And after that, there was a couple of I would say questions related to my background as well. But I come from a computer engineering background, so I had some questions regarding business intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, which are all also mentioned in my CV and in my profile overall. And there were some HR questions as well during the end of my interview, and they wanted to know how FMS suited and how FMS fitted in the bigger picture there. So that was pretty much all about my interview experience, how it went by in just around 7 to 9 minutes actually.
I think we could also discuss how to write your SOP, and I think tomorrow is the deadline for FMS form. So while writing your SOP, you should be very brief, keep it crisp, because there is a word limit of 1,000 characters this time around. I think for us it was 100 words, but this time around they have kept it 1,000 characters. So mention the points that set you apart from your fellow applicants who might also be applying to FMS. Also, I would suggest that you personalize that answer, because of course everyone's statement of purpose should differ based on their aspirations and their profile. So put a few hooks in there so that they can further become a talking point during an interview. And also towards the end, I would suggest mention why FMS. So your SOP should be basically divided into three parts. First would be an answer to tell me about yourself, like who you are and what you have done so far. Then why MBA, and the third part should cover why MBA from FMS. So these are the three major areas that you should cover in your SOP, and keep it very crisp and very personal, because of course there is an evaluative section in your interview which will be totally based on your SOP. So keep it brief, crisp, and also be very thorough with it. So I think Vaishnavi, Parth, and Nitin can add more to this.
Yeah. So actually, what I believe is that your SOP is kind of like your story in those 1,000 characters, and I feel that one needs to showcase or display certain very important things, like the willingness to learn, and how this MBA is actually going to help you in your future pursuits. So I think and also being humble at the same time. So one point to make sure is that you're very humble, and even when you're talking about your achievements in the SOP, these are some of the key points to keep in mind. Yeah, that's from my side.
So I would say that while writing your SOP, not just make sure that why you want to do MBA, just you should connect something from your past to your future. You should connect all of your past things, whatever you've done, even your extracurricular achievements. and link it to why MBA, and then further why MBA from FMS, as Sugandha also mentioned. That is something very important. And definitely be crisp and very precise in your words, because you just have 100 characters. And one suggestion from my side is that just do not, start by writing SOP into, concise form, that being into 100 characters. Just write a normal SOP, maybe of 200 words, 300 words also, it could be there. And then, uh, crisp it down to 1,000 characters. This is one suggestion which I would do. Nitin, maybe you could add something.
I think pretty much summed up. But to add to it, I would say that have something different from your other peers. So what I mean by that is, for example, when someone asks me what are your future plans, so instead of just pointing out that I want to be successful and I want to go into this industry, try to be a little more precise. So what that does is differs you from other competitors or other other people that they are interviewing as well. So that kinds of leaves an impression in their minds. So that can be a differentiating point for you.
Also, one point that comes to my mind is that what is a good, really good thing to keep in mind is that when one is drafting the SOP, you can think about two or three values that you really identify with as a person. So that gives a very personal touch and also showcase, also displays you as a personality and what are the key ideals you hold and which are very personal to you. I think that's a very good way to very good thing to include in the SOP as well.
And also, once you are done with your SOP, once you have submitted it, maybe go through it with a fine-toothed comb. And like, I can't stress on it enough, be very thorough with it. Like, try to frame questions that could be asked from your SOP during the interview. And you should be able to come up with 3 or 4 questions that you could yourself form from your SOP, and then thoroughly practice answering those questions. Maybe your friends, your peers, someone at your home, so, or your coaching. So yes, be very thorough with it, like, do not leave out any single point, because if you falter in answering a question from your own SOP, that creates a very bad impression. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, further adding to that, you can actually, what you can do is you can make a story out of it, because when you do that, it's very less chance that you'll forget something. So when you're very clear with it, you can form a flow, and that can help you a lot.
So I think further we could also discuss about how we prepared for SOP, like while writing the SOP, how we did it, prepared for it, and further also how we prepared for our interview, what all things prior to that we did specifically for our FMS interview. So if I have to start with me, for me, the first thing which I did was to get to know how an interview was done. What is the timeline for the interview? What is the duration? What all things are asked? So upon researching that, I found out that FMS interviews are very short, about 8 to 10 minutes, and there are basically three things which normally are being asked. First is the extempore, second is the discussion on your SOP, and third is somewhat around your TMAY, whatever you mentioned during the interview. So be really thorough about it. Go to the website before prior hand, I would suggest, and know about FMS, its alumni, maybe what differentiates it from everybody. That is something you should know about it. And for the interview, yes, definitely, as my peers also mentioned, that go through word by word of your SOP. They could pick anything, and you should be answerable to that. Further, apart from this, what I prepared for FMS was that why I really want to do an MBA from FMS. This is a question which you should be very thorough about. There's a good possibility that is being asked, and I would suggest that make all of your answers personalized. Do not try copying it from various sites about all of your answers, and have a conversation during the interview. Maybe make that your target during that. So, like you can guys can also add on.
Yeah, so personally for me, again, like Vaishnavi mentioned, my first step was to actually get to know about the format of the interview. And for that, there are various interview experiences already available online that you can go and read up on. One word of caution I would give for that though is do not just keep, reading them endlessly. Just limit yourself when you're getting interview experiences to avoid getting colored by them. So just get a rough idea about what the interview looks and feels like. Beyond that, again, my HR answers and mock interviews were very important. That's what I would say. I did brush up on my undergrad and postgrad, knowledge in terms of my statistics knowledge, but not too, in depth. It's pretty rudimentary, and the basic concepts is something that I looked at. Current affairs is again one thing that really I was following every day, and there are various others, various sources online again that you can refer to. There's no one right source for current affairs, but maybe 30-40 minutes in a day, if you can spare, even 15-20 minutes would do, just to keep up to date with that. And one thing that really helped me was that especially for the extempore part, so I would do this thing wherein I would just, in my family at home, I would just, when I was sitting with my parents, I would just ask them to, give me a random topic for extempore, and then we would just practice for like 1 minute, and I would speak on any given topic for 1 minute. So I did that couple of times just to get easy with the idea of speaking for 1 minute non-stop. So the idea behind extempore is, we feel that initially I had this mental block, that I have to bring out great content, and where do I get that from? And we spend a lot of time thinking on what to say. But what I realized over a period of time while practicing extempores is that what is more important is that you have a coherent chain of thought. It is not, content is definitely important, but what is important is to be consistent in what you're saying and just speak for 1 minute, whatever comes to your mind, in a structured manner. I think structuring is again something that you should do in an extempore. So what you can do is, you could probably divide your time, for 1 minute you take 10 seconds for structuring your thoughts, and like even Nitin mentioned, you get 15 seconds to think. So that is a time to structure it, and then you can go on by with your line of thought.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when you're talking about interviews, right? So at our time, what happened was, the average time per interview was around 7 to 9 minutes only. So that's actually very less time. When you're starting to have a conversation, normal interviews can go up to like, more than 15 minutes easily. Uh, but here, what was happening was, there are very few seats and the applicants are very high. So in that case, the time difference, what you have to do is, you have to impress your panelists in just those 7 to 9 minutes. So that's kind of a hard bargain, but you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for it. And going towards, like they have talked about, Parth have talked about, the academic part as well. So for workex people who have a workex, you need to be thorough about what you do on a daily basis in a work. So the questions can revolve around that as well. What kind of tools do you use? What is your role actually? What are you contributing towards the company? So all these things, any question can be made up regarding a workex. So if you have a workex, then try to focus on a workex first, and then go to the ACAS as well, because those are important as well.
So in preparation to the interview, I actually started with the interview experiences, like many of my friends here, and that gave me an idea of what an interview would look like at FMS. And I also remember it was our first offline interview in 2 seasons, so that was something distinct about this interview, and obviously it made me very nervous, but it was also a good experience. As I said, the panel was very calm and composed, but I didn't know that before, so I was prepared for a grilling interview as well. And for other B schools, I actually had one of those where the panel was trying to grill me on various sorts of questions. So I was prepared for any kind of interview. So I would suggest you also do that. It is always good to be prepared, like prepared on various aspects of your profile, your hobbies, the HR questions. So these are a few basic steps that you should be thought of with. Apart from that, for extempore, again, there is no fixed syllabus. They could ask anything. It's very general in that sense. So be thought of with the current affairs, as Parth mentioned. That is very important that you devote some amount of time daily to brush up on your current affairs and the geopolitical scenario that is going around in the world. So that is one thing. Apart from that, I think again your SOP that comes in again, because that is a separate section in the interview. So be thought of with your SOP. And workex, acads are a few things that you should also be prepared to answer questions from. So I think that is it.
One last thing that comes to my mind is that I personally have, in my experience, there is something known as an over preparation for an interview. So especially when we are talking about B school interviews in that context, I believe that the aim should be to get comfortable with most of these HR questions or questions around your profile, but to not sort of mug them up and deliver them in a very robotic way. So my 2 cents would be to keep calm and composed during the interview. That's the first thing that one needs to do, to make sure that you have a good conversation, not to rehearse answers over and over. And one should not go with preconceived notions. So that's where the trade off will play. So if you have read a lot of interview experiences, you might have some sort of assumptions or expectations. So that thing needs to be avoided. One needs to go with an open mind, well prepared, and with an open mind to have a conversation in the interview, and answer the questions as they come, not anticipate them in advance.
Yeah. Also, I would say, like, being a fresher, you should not just be, very thorough about your attached subjects, but also about the industries which are. For example, in my interview, I was from biomedical background, so they did ask me, like, you have 30 seconds, shoot me the companies in India and abroad which are involved in biomedical business. So you should be really thorough about the industry also from where you are, and that is something which could be asked. Because they just do not want to know about your theoretical knowledge, but also about your practical knowledge, that whether you are thorough with your undergrad thing or not. And yes, definitely the why MBA answer should be well prepared, and it should not just be focused on why you want to do it in future, but also connect your dots from the past. That okay, these were the things which I did in the past, and this is why I want to pursue. So yeah.
Okay, so
I
I
think
see a few questions here. Shivam, as far as the age question is concerned, I would say that that is not a make or break kind of a thing. I mean, I have had a very diverse profile, and I've, as I mentioned, masters and UPSC and WorkX. So it's just what matters is how that story plays into your why MBA and how your journey supports your decision to do MBA at this point, and whether you're willing to actually learn and pursue MBA and achieve the goals and the targets that you've set out for the future after your MBA.
But
I
there's
think
another
there's another question from
question
Sudhir.
from,
Great.
yeah.
Sudhir asked, how far is FMS interview with the IMS interview? I think it's pretty much the same. With a difficult, I would say that there's a different pattern to it. Like we have an extemper before you start the actual interview. So that would be the only difference. But otherwise, in any interview, go even through IMS or the FMS, they can ask you anything. Like we also discussed, right? We provided you to be complete and thorough with everything about your life. So that will be the same for every interview we'll give this season.
Okay, so I see another question around gap year. So in terms of the gap year, yes, it can become a topic of discussion, but more so as to what you were doing in that time frame. I think that's very important to know why that gap existed, and that needs to, from your HR answers perspective, you need to understand that what were you exactly doing at that time, and how does that again, dovetail into your entire story.
So there's a question from Sudhir, who is asking, except ROI, what others will make FMS over IMA? I think he's asking about other factors that would
So
make one
actually,
choose FMS over IMA.
Actually, one piece of advice is to completely avoid mentioning ROI in the interviews, and as a motivation to go for FMS. I think that's something that should be avoided in the interviews. Yeah.
Yeah, so apart from ROI, of course, we have a list of very esteemed faculty members present at FMS who have given it their all, like across many years, almost all their lives. So, and the faculty members will actually be present in your panel for sure. For us, all of us were interviewed by two of the faculty members that we are being taught by now. So please do not mention ROI at all, because there are so many other things that set FMS apart from the ROI. Um, and actually, we have a few people in our batch who chose FMS over IMABC as well. So, of course, the faculty, the opportunities that you get being in Delhi, the heart of the nation. And there are many industries. FMS is actually the oldest MBA college in India, which was established in 1954. And of course, there is no dearth of opportunities here. There are exceptional peers, like almost at par with what you will get at IMABC, and the learning opportunities, the life project opportunities, the placements. So I think everything is at par. It is a very premium B school. So of course, mention and also mention you should have your own personal reason. I think none of these reasons will matter unless you have your personal motive to join FMS. So that would be your call why you would choose to join FMS over IMA. It could be ROI for you, but yeah, definitely don't mention that during an interview.
Also, to add on to Sugandha's point, I would say that when we talk about FMS and yeah, so why FMS? One reason I would think is there's a really high intellectual density. So as compared to when we talk about IMABC, they have larger batch sizes, and our batch sizes tend to be smaller. So we have more cohesiveness in that sense, and collaboration and that exchange of ideas and working in groups. I think that's we are a fairly closely knit community, and I think that is something that we one can really experience really well at FMS.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
think
I actually had this as well. So, for example, I had those call. I had a call from IMC as well. So, what I would say, right, Sugandha mentioned, right? FMS was established in 1954. So there, I was a part of 59th batch, and here I was. We are all a part of 69th batch of FMS now. And additionally, you get a top class faculties here and DU that are teaching us, as well as I would say you should have personal reasons for this kind of a choice. When you're going from APC FMS, you don't have any wrong answer when you're choosing from all these four colleges or even the other top colleges of B schools in India as well.
So there is a question from Rakesh. He's asking about the JEM call percentile. So the percentile at which a GEM candidate can get a call. So I'd say anything above 99 percentile could get a call, could get you a call, but it will to be on the safe side for a GEM candidate. It will be good if you score 99.5 and above.
I
Uh,
think there's one more question from Sudhir. How par is FMS interview with IM interview? So I think I would say that all interview experiences are different. It has a different criteria of an FMS interview. As I earlier also mentioned that we have three different factors on which we are judged, and it is a relatively smaller interview as compared to IIM interviews. So you, as Nitin also mentioned earlier, that you have a little time to impress your interviewers. So that is something which is different. Rest, you should be very prepared about your thorough HR answers. I would say that fumbling on HR answers is something that is really not acceptable by the interviewer. So you should be thorough about it, and yeah, make it conversational and try to impress it. So that is something which is there.
I think we have a
So
question from just another reader, if I'm reading that name correct. Talking about future career stream orientation in your YMBA, I think that's a really good thing to do, but provided you follow through completely with that. So just mentioning that I am interested in ABC or any such stream by itself will be somewhat incomplete. I would urge you to do your proper research as to and of course soul searching as to why you want to go into this area of work, and any demonstrated excellence or experience that you've had in this field, and what are your future plans. So the key here is to be very thorough with your plan in this particular domain. I think it's a really good thing to include if you can talk about these pointers.
Yeah. We also have a question that what exactly they are looking in the candidate and what makes a person get admission into FMS. Means what should be the attitude of the candidate during interview. So related to this question, I would say that just be yourself. Do not lie in your interview. Be just express it whatever you have, and the answers which they say just be very open to whatever you are saying in the interview. That is something which they are looking for. They're looking for originality, and yeah, just a suggestion: do not fake anything. Be as original as you can.
I think his
So
username provides the answer as well. See, they want people who can make the world colorful.
Yes.
Yeah, so one thing I would also add to this is, as I mentioned earlier, one should of course be very humble in the way you converse, and also be a very good listener in the interview. So this might sound like counterintuitive advice, but it's highly desirable that you listen to what the question is and what is being asked of you before you start answering and start with any answer that you might have prepared. So again, as bringing myself back to that point of not anticipating questions, so it's always best to remain calm and understand the question first before you start answering that. And of course, the ability to learn and the willingness to learn and enthusiasm towards the program. I think these are some of the highly desirable things in an interview.
So, Arvind Mayappan is asking for the why FMS question. Would you say giving generic answers will do, or should I make that personalized as well? More like why FMS for me. So, Arvind, I will suggest you make it personalized as well because of obviously just like why MBA, why FMS should also be customized to your profile for you. So my answer to this was FMS. Not many of I'm not sure if many of us know here, but FMS is a student-run campus, and it was a great factor for me to decide that I wanted to go to FMS, having worked in such an organization in my undergrad as well. So it is run by many societies. We have a student body here which runs the campus, and that was one factor that pushed me towards pursuing an MBA from FMS. So you could have your own reasons, but I'll suggest that surely make it personal, because generic answers, if you copy something from a template, that would not work, because the professors have been interviewing candidates for many years now, and they will catch you in a lie if you lie. So yes, please keep it original as well.
See, additionally, what happens is when you're writing out this FMS for MBA answer, I would also suggest that you have to have that personal touch to it, because the fact that what you can do is actually you can try to do some research on the B school, any B school that you are applying for the interview here, and then you need to find something that resonates with you. So it can be any program, it can be any social welfare scheme that the college is into, it can be any club or any something that will impact your future. So you can add that to your YMBA as well, because like FMS provides me with this type of opportunity, and that's why also another reason I'm trying to pursue an MBA from here.
Yeah. So I think one question is that most frequently asked questions. So I would say that there is no set pattern for everybody that the interviewer asks. It could be different for everybody, but definitely the general HR questions like why MBA, or why you want to do an MBA from FMS, then further on TMAY, and those should be prepared beforehand, I would suggest. And
Adding to the list, I think also which field do you want to go to? What are you expecting to gain from this MBA? Apart from that, do you have any question regarding FMS? So that is a question that gets asked very frequently during the end of an interview. So you should be prepared with a question to ask from the panel when your interview is ending. And that question should not be anything generic. Like, do not ask them what are you looking for in a candidate. That is a big no. Ask something meaningful, something specific, maybe about FMS, maybe the life at FMS, the campus, the program, the courses. So yeah, be prepared with a question to ask to the panel. And apart from that, yes, also be thought of with your profile, like we said before. So questions related to profile and your acads are asked very frequently. Because I remember there was someone in my panel who got asked the name of 6 stock exchanges across the world because they had worked in a fintech company before. So I think Parth also has a background in fintech, so maybe he could also elaborate on that.
Yeah, so my interview was mostly around my profile, and my work ex was a very small part of my interview. So not really asked around that, but more my interview is more around my HR answers and profiles. But yeah, I mean, definitely you can expect answers to questions from your work ex. Definitely, that's there.
yeah. Also, adding on to this, you should also be very thoroughly prepared about your subjects if you are being a fresher. Because I remember in my interview, they asked me about my favorite subject in undergrad, and they also asked me a little bit about it, the theory knowledge. So that is also something which you should be prepared beforehand if you haven't.
think we have a question from Rakesh that 99.32 with walk 99.97 should expect a call. Well, I think that's a brilliant walk score. And the sectional scheme for FMS admissions are 40 30 30, 40 for walk, 30 for LRDI, and 30 for quants. So I think you have a pretty good shot of getting a call. I'm considering your gem.
Again, there is a question: what is a good percentile for FMS? We have taken this. Anything above 99 should fetch you a call. However, to convert it, it is better to be above 99.5. But yes, even above 99 has a good shot.
So we have a question from Zafar. Move up. What's a good profile for FMS interview? So Zafar, what I would say is, of course, having done well in CAT definitely helps. Other than that, I mean, the as you would notice that the weightage given to 10th and 12th and even WorkX as compared to ABC is not that much in FMS. So be over and above CAT, I think it's what you do in on the interview day is that's actually what matters, and 30% of that is still in your hand. So yeah, I think that again, working on what you have done and how that connects with your MBA should be a good way to go about it.
Yeah. Also, we have like people from diverse background in our own batch and our senior batch as well. So it does not depend that if you are a general engineer, male or female, or maybe a business administration degree that only fetches you admission into MBA. We have people from psychology background also and different backgrounds. So that I don't think so that much depends on you getting into FMS.
Josh Sanghavi is asking whether there are private equity or asset management type roles available in summer placements and final placements. So, Josh, there has been a huge spike in the number of finance companies coming on campus for placements this time around. And of course, there were PE roles offered. So, you can look forward to that.
I think Crucial Venkaria has a question. How much time to give in CAT exam and how to prepare for CAT exam? Okay. So I would say that if I have to answer this, like, you should be very constant and, in your preparation towards CAT. It is not a day or a week job. You should be very thorough and constant about your preparation. Each day, it's like, you should add 10 minutes to your studies, maybe. And that is something which you should do for CAT exam. Anything else you can add on this question?
So I would add just two words to that, and that's mock tests. So what we usually do is the one mistake is to keep reading new formulae and reading new material and things, but we forget to practice them. I think mock tests are the best way to prepare yourself for CAT because on the D day you would actually be answering those type of questions, and it is actually a test of how well can you simulate that environment at home and with frequency and consistency uh, to see a gradual improvement. So of course, we have this whole discussion around mock score percentiles and all that stuff, but I would genuinely urge you to not worry about mock score percentiles and trying to extrapolate that if I got something like this today, what will happen on the D day. I think it's CAT preparation is a marathon, and like Vaishnavi said, and consistency is the key here, and trying to put yourself in that zone, in that testing zone again and again, and see and trying out different strategies of answering questions. I think that is something that could really be of help during preparation.
Okay, guys. Moving further, we have a question from Vidhi Baraskar. She is a CA dropout and she's asking whether she should mention this thing in the interview or not. See, that's a personal choice. I'll say if I that would be me, I wouldn't mention it. Otherwise, if the interview asks you about your drop year, then you can justify it by using that. I was doing a CA, I gave it my all, gave it the attempt, and it wasn't that fruitful. So, what were your learnings from it? From your failure, and how did you go past to it, and what are your plans ahead? So those kind of points, if you add it to your answer for that, so that can be a plus point in your interview as well.
So, adding to that, I think if you feel a question could be tricky during the interview, just be prepared to back your decision up. If you're able to justify it, there is no harm in mentioning anything. So, we are asking you to be original. So, of course, this would be it would be prudent to mention it. Just be prepared to back up your decision, is all.
Yeah. I think Shivam has one question that I have a 5 year of work ex in SCM. Can I join FMS? I think we have a lot of people who have a 3 to 4, 5 years experiences in different fields and in our batch as well. So I don't think so there is any harm, but I think Sugandha and Nitin, you could add something, maybe something from your work experience also into this question.
See, the thing is, when you have that much work experience, all the B schools, all the colleges that you have, they will push you towards going towards an executive program. It's not just FMS; it's every other B school out there. So what you have to do is you have to be prepared with the strong why you want to pursue a 2 years degree here. So that would be the first step for you, and I think that is quite important when you're trying to tell them that you have such good amount of work experience. So Gandha, do you have any
Yeah.
point to add to that?
I think that pretty much sums it up. Just back up your decision, justify your decision of pursuing a 2 year course. You could mention the peer to peer learning that happens, and being among bright and young minds is another, could be another factor that plays in. But yeah, that answer should be personal to you, because ultimately it is your choice, your career. So you should be able to justify your decision of pursuing a 2 year program.
So I think we have a question from Rakesh. Rakesh, the thing is, you may or may not be asked the question directly on strengths and weaknesses, but to prepare on those lines and have to be aware of your strong and weak points, I think that's essential and crucial to your GDPI prep. And as I mentioned earlier, that your 2 or 3 values or 2 or 3 strengths that you have, it's always good to talk about those things and bring them to light. I think that's so what I'm trying to say is you should definitely prepare on those lines, but you may or may not be asked that question.
See, additionally, what you also can do is you can add those certain strengths in your answers as well. So it can be added to your SOP, it can be added to your answers, it can be added to any situation that you were in. So it's like, but you have to give a reason to it as well. Don't just blunt it out like I have this strength or I have that. You have to give a concrete reason behind it. I have this strength because of my such experience. So that would be another, plus point. You can play it like that as well in front of the panelists. But don't be too cocky about it to catch you.
We have a question from Khatu Shamji lovers. So I would say that I mean, English language barrier is should not be a make or break. I mean, if you're able to speak very basic English, also that should get you through. And if your content is in place, I think that is something which matters more. Again, you can always say that you can always put it across as it's something which is probably not your strongest suits right now, but what are you doing to improve your communication skills? I think that is a good way to go about it.
Yeah. So we also have a question for how much duration was your interviews and in general for how much time it lasts. So I think all of us have pretty much mentioned it before also while discussing our interview experiences. Our interviews mostly lasted around 7 to 9 minutes, as we mentioned, and this is the average FMS interview duration also. And I think you guys can also expect it to be this much only for this time also.
See, our batch was just after COVID hit, so we were there offline. We were present there. So I think there might be some changes, but like Vaishnavi said, moreover, it would be like you should. I think you should go prepared for that 7 to 9 minutes only. It may be longer, it may be shorter. That we can't. No one can say. But keep that as a benchmark.
Okay. So I think we can expect an offline interview also this year also. So apart from these, I would also suggest that be well groomed and prepare well for being for long hours there, because you will have to get your all the documents checked prior hand before the interview goes. There could be a waiting line there even. So be well prepared, and I would suggest that yes, definitely be well groomed, be in your formal attire, prepare it beforehand, and if you live near the campus, do visit it because your interviews may happen on the campus only this time also. So that is an additional thing which I think you should all take
And
care of.
please do carry a water bottle because it's going to be hot. Your interview will take place during the month of April.
Yes.
Um, and like if you follow
Delhi is
the
pretty hot.
yeah, and if you follow the trend from last year, it is going to be very hot. So yes, be in your formal suits, but also be hydrated. Uh, and yes, prepare well.
Yeah, and just to finally shed some light on campus life at FMS, I think we have quite a robust campus life, and we in fact have a cultural society, Culsoc, which has 9 clubs, and whatever interest area of interest you may have, ranging from acting, singing, dancing to photography, and even cooking. So I think they are very well represented in the cultural events at FMS, and we also have our annual fiesta, which is cultural and sporting events. We also have sports off, so I think we have quite a robust campus life as well, and we manage work hard, play hard at FMS really well.
Yeah. So we do not just have a cultural life at FMS. I would say we also get to enjoy the DU, the North Campus life events. So that is something a different experience, at least for me. Not being, into a campus like, strict ground, we get to experience a lot of things, move from here to there, the Kamala Nagar area and all. Once you come here, you'll get to notice that. And yes, you definitely have all of the societies apart from cultural sports societies. You have systems operations society, con club. There's a lot of things to learn. Like in past 6 months, I would say that I always had something or the other to do here. So it was quite busy, and like you have a lot of opportunities. It's like you need to choose which you want to have it. So you'll never be deficient, I would say, of opportunities here, and new things which you want to try. So yeah. Nitin, Sugandha, maybe you could add something to FMS life
So
campus.
as my peers mentioned, of course, it's a very vibrant life here. You have many societies. So there are 12 societies which are under the student body here. So you can choose to join any of those based on your interests and your profile as well. But profile is no bar in joining a society. The only thing that matters is the will to learn, I feel. And there are selections and elections, so you could contest in those. And of course, apart from that, there are many cultural societies as well, and Bath is actually our joint cultural secretary, so he will be able to shed more light on that. So we have various different clubs, be it singing, dancing, drama, filmmaking, or cooking. So yeah, we have a club for every one of them. So yeah, the life is never boring here. And even if you don't want to join a club and you want to do something else with your time and be productive doing it, you could start a life project. So there are ample opportunities available here. We even have a club called the Strat Labs, which helps you find life project opportunities. So that is something to look forward to as well.
See, I
So
think I'll add to there's a question from Zafar Mughab. That is, our best experiences in FMS and best thing about it. So I'll say, and there was another question regarding campus, I think hostel seats, right? Yeah, so there was another question from just another reader. Are there good living localities around FMS? So I try to club up those two questions here. So first of all, there are pretty much there are various localities to live by, and it depends on the range of your budget basically. So you can get even good flats, you can get at a very high prices or even low prices as well. So the whole campus is situated at around Kamala Nagar, Malkaganj, these kind of places. You have a lot of flats. So you won't be able to there won't be any issues with your PGs or flats as per se. And another thing is that I would say that also adds up to the FMS experience, because that's what also was one of my personal reasons. You get to live life on your own. So you are taking the decisions. You will be living like you're doing a job, right? You live on your own. You pay for it. You go on with your work, and that's the kind of experience that makes you very self-reliable and self-sufficient in a way. So that also adds up to it. You become a truly independent being here.
Just another reader wants to know that what is a when does a usual day end at FMS? So uh, there
Never.
is, yeah, exact. I mean, there's not a usual day at FMS. I think every day is very different. We have different kinds of activities. So beyond your classroom learning, you have a lot of guest lectures as well. You have cultural, sports related activities. So, I mean, you can basically be in campus at any time and find something productive to do. I guess that's the right way to put it. Totally depends on how driven and what you are and what are your priorities. Yeah, so that's that.
Yeah, I think one other thing what people have a misconception that we don't have a hostel per se in the campus, so it might get closed just after classes. But it's not like that. So we have people who you can never stay there at night, like for some reasons, for some work that they're doing. So it's not like that. It's always open for you.
Yeah. Also, everybody, like as Nitin mentioned, that we have flats or PGs around. So it's all in the range of 1.5 kilometers. So I think not just me, like every one of us, at least during our SIPs and even now, we do stay at campus only around, doing some or the other thing, even after our classes. So it does not ever get, isolated that, okay, we're not connected to each other. We almost get there, every time. So, yeah.
So there's a question from Ankit Kumar saying they have a 90% of overall percentile. Should they apply for FMS Delhi? So I think there's no harm in applying. It's a bit dicey. I'll consider your profile to be gem for the sake of this answer. So it's a bit dicey, but you could definitely apply and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think guys you should try to mention a little bit more about your profile, whether you belong to a category or you belong to a general. Then we will be able to answer it more precisely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Ankit,
there's another
maybe.
question from Shivam, actually, guys. So Shivam is asking from where we can learn new type of VAR questions, which come in CAT 2022. Which, acha, okay, so which came in CAT 2022 because there were some different kind of questions in VAR this year, right? So I think pretty much you'll have everything. You have material from various websites on the internet itself. I would say Cracku would also be providing you with some free material over that. So I would say just go there, practice it. Just have a clear thought of mind how you approach a question. I would say that's more important than different types of questions because there can be any change in the CAT exam pattern every year. It's up to them.
In fact, I would like to add to that. Cracku is something that I definitely, it also really helped me in my preparation. Especially, there were these 6 hour revision marathon videos, or that were available. I think using those videos was quite beneficial for me, and they were across all 3 sections of CAT. So yeah, Cracku definitely helped there.
Apart from following videos and tutorials on YouTube and via online channels, you should, to prepare for work, I think you should also be thorough with your reading, like reading editorials, articles, like every day do help in getting a grip of things because a major chunk of the work portion is reading and comprehension. So not only do you have to keep up with your reading speed, you also have to comprehend what the passage is trying to say and then answer questions based on those. So that is a good thing to do as well.
Yeah. I think, guys, we should also discuss about, maybe extempore preparation because this is something which is, FMS, one of the colleges that does this and different from that. So, like, I may start that, my FMS extempore topic was really very usual. Not usual, I would say unusual because, they asked me about my journey first time to FMS, like on that current day. So I think maybe it was because when I entered the room, the interviewers room, we exchanged wishes and they were like, okay, so are you traveling today? And I said yes, I traveled today only. So they were like, okay, did you stay one day before or what was that? And then suddenly they put me this extempore question that describe your journey first time to FMS. So it could be as unusual as this also. And as Parth earlier also mentioned that he used to prepare it with his parents, that they used to shoot him any extempore topic and he used to prepare it. So, it is not always sure that, you had to prepare a list of extempore topics, general extempore topics, maybe on some current affairs or anything, but it could be anything random. So do not, be constrained yourself to some specific topics, but try, going out of the box, I would say.
Adding on to that, I feel one topic can have multiple interpretations, especially if it's an abstract topic. So, yes, try to think laterally. Do not stick to a fixed notion. So you could be asked to talk about anything and everything. So it will be good to make a list of topics and practice by yourself. You could set a timer in your phone and try to speak in front of a mirror even for a minute and see if you're able to speak fluently. So that is very important. And of course, try to challenge yourself, give yourself random topics every day, and do this consistently, I would say. And you should be good to go for the extempore part at least. Coming to, we have already covered how to write your SOP. I think that is done. And coming to PI, a few tips that I'll suggest is just stay calm. In the end, the interviewer sitting in front of you is also human, and they do not expect anything extraordinary out of you, not yet at least. So just be in the present moment, be calm, and trust your preparation. You have done everything you could, and just put your best foot forward.
Yeah, I think to add to that, to handle abstract topics, so you can just kind of maintain a particular structure in your mind. See, so for example, for me, it was always like whatever topic you give me, I'll have an introduction part of what the topic is, or if it's quite abstract, I would say what it does it mean to me, and then later on moving towards a kind of an explanation towards this, involving some things about it, and then there would be a conclusion part. So these three kind of three kind of structure that can help you a lot with any kind of topic you get, abstract or prepared, everything.
In fact, adding to what Nitin just said, I think if you completely are drawing a blank on an abstract topic, so talking about how that relates to you, what do you feel about that, and more importantly, you can use that opportunity to actually connect that with your story somewhere. Life experiences, if you can talk about them or just work them in. I think that's a really good way to again talk more about yourself, tell more about yourself, who you are as a person. I think abstract topics are a great opportunity to talk more about yourself and show more of your personality.
Yeah. Also, you can expect, follow-up questions on your extempore, because this is something which happened to my interview. They did follow up on that extempore topic. So that is something also you should maybe keep in mind. So I think we also have a question. What's the maximum age of a candidate in regular PGP batch of FMS? I think there's no limit to that. We do have people aged 30 to 31 in our batch and in our senior batches as well. So I don't think so. There's a barrier of something else. Like maybe you guys could say.
No, there are no age barriers as such. We will. So there's another question from Sumit Goswami. Can startup founders apply for FMS Delhi? Is it manageable to balance startup and studies? So there is no bar in applying. I think you can definitely apply. But yes, whether you will be able to manage studies and your business is a thing that only you will be able to decide, because obviously the curriculum is very rigorous and you will be expected to put your 100% here. So yes, that will be your call.
Again,
Yeah,
like
to add to that, we also have people who are doing this as well. So it's not that difficult, or it's not
Yes.
impossible to do that. We have our batchmates who are actually managing their businesses as well as have studying along with us as well.
Yeah.
yeah. So one thing I would say that an MBA and a full-time MBA could really help in that respect is to grow your alumni network. So when you come to for an MBA, while you're an entrepreneur. So firstly, we have an e-cell, an entrepreneurship cell at FMS, which can provide you the requisite support. And of course, we have a very vast alumni network, and that always comes in handy when you're on the entrepreneurial journey in life.
Yeah.
I think we have answered all of the questions, I suppose. I think we can conclude here that we have discussed how important is your SOP. You have to be thorough with it, be true with it. Then focus on your interview prep as well. And you can always connect with any of us or from other batchmates of ours from FMS. You to have your queries, connect us on LinkedIn or other channels as well.
So I would also say that we're definitely free to connect with any one of us via LinkedIn or any other site. And I would say that just be very thorough in your SOP and be original in that. Do not copy it from here or there. Be as original as you can. And yes, good luck everyone.
So my concluding remark would be to take the process seriously, but not too seriously.
And following up on what Parth said, just don't stress yourself out a lot. Trust your preparation and all the best.
Good luck, guys.
All the best.
All the best.